What's up, everybody? This is the Sports League Podcast, back for another week. I'm your host, Alex Leak. We got Dean back on the show. Dean, good to have you back.
Hey, it's great to be with you, Alex.
Yeah, and this is a fun time of year, fun episode, talking about the college football playoff. We followed the season all the way to this point, and we finally get to, get ready for the national championship game. And there was a lot of talk about, who should be in the playoffs and who got snubbed and didn't make it. But the most important thing, we had two great games, huh?
Yeah, those two playoff games were you couldn't ask for much more.
Yeah, and in both of these games, I just felt like it came close to two teams kind of blowing it, right? It came down to the wire on both of them.
Yes, yeah, I think we talked about it prior to this that these matchups when we found out what they were, there was some concern, and we talked about Washington not being favored, but I mean they're undefeated.
Yeah.
So I mean, to take on Texas and not be favored was, that was a question in my mind.
Yeah, they
Um,
it feels like they've been disrespected a lot this year. I think they were the underdogs in both the Oregon games too.
Absolutely were, yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah, and they're also underdogs for this championship game.
Yeah. And then Michael Penix not getting the Heisman, right?
Yeah, that's a disgrace, actually.
Yeah. And but we've seen it. I mean, some people are saying it's the worst. He's like the biggest snub in the Heisman history, and I'm like, I don't know. We've seen some pretty big ones over the years.
Yeah, haven't we though? Yeah.
But let's get into the games. The first game, the Rose Bowl. Um, Real quick, there's been some talk about Kirk Herbstreit was saying that he thinks they should make the Rose Bowl the national championship game going forward. Just play the Natty in the Rose Bowl. Do you like that idea?
Well, I mean, there's something about the Rose Bowl. I mean, the the big daddy of them all, right?
Yeah, the granddaddy. Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, it's like, I you know, I was a little confused as to why the Rose Bowl was played. It's out in Pasadena, and it was played first.
yeah,
That didn't make any sense to me.
yeah,
I thought that would be reversed. That you'd play the game in Louisiana first.
yeah. That is interesting for sure because that's
Right.
like a almost a noon or 1 o'clock kickoff there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
So yeah, I thought
yeah,
I thought that was a little strange, but I don't know. I don't want one particular place to be the place.
yeah.
I do like the mixture.
Hmm.
Um, I just, I mean, yeah, it's a big place and it's a big deal, but that's going a little too far, I think.
And speaking of going too far, I mean, the thing we love about the Rose Bowl is the venue and all the
Correct.
tradition and history that goes along with it. Stephen A. Smith said on ESPN this week that the Rose Bowl game should be played at the new SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles instead of the Rose Bowl.
Well, but geez, how old is this guy really? I mean, he's not been around long enough to
Yeah,
really appreciate college football and the bowls.
yeah. Leave it
That's
to Stephen A. and ESPN to come up with a take like that.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, I can imagine there's a lot of reasons why you might want to do that,
Yeah.
but I think there's more reasons why you would not want to do
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely. Any college football historian or that knows the tradition of the game would say absolutely not, you know?
Right.
It's like moving the Cubs out of Wrigley Field. You just can't do it.
Yeah, there's just certain things that just don't mess with in sports. The sports gods are going to come down on
Yep.
them.
Pre- Preach on that one. That goes to my Bears for trying to move the Bears into a dome too.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Yes.
yeah. So let's get into this game, Michigan, Alabama, and um, you know, the history of Michigan. You get into a big game like this against a really tough opponent in Alabama, and I just assume that they're going to find a way to lose and find a way to choke it, and um, so I thought this was going to be a very tough game for Michigan, and it was going to be a big test for J.J. McCarthy and the Michigan offense for sure, right?
Yeah, I agree with your comment about, seems like that whenever they get to the big one, the big games, they choke.
Yeah,
Starting with Ohio State.
yeah,
But they didn't the last 2 years with
yeah,
Ohio State. So there was something different these last couple of years about Michigan. Now,
yeah,
now last
yeah.
year they did, I think, choke,
Mm-hmm.
but I think they learned their lesson.
Yeah, and I would think Alabama's a tougher test than TCU,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
um, it started out. I mean, the opening play of the game, J.J. McCarthy throws an interception. If not for Alabama stepping out of bounds, the first play of the game would have been an interception. I thought that was a terrible start.
Yeah.
But they were lucky he stepped out of bounds. Alabama scores first. Jace McClellan with a 34-yard touchdown puts them up 7-0. But what Michigan did a great job of, even when they got down, they responded right away offensively. And so they get down 7-0, but they come right back 7-7. They got a little too tricky. They tried a double pass play where the reverse pass almost went over JJ McCarthy's head. uh, then he's able to get it. He has to throw like a fadeaway pass. He gets a big hit from Dallas Turner and gets up slowly. And it's like, what are you doing, Michigan? Kind of being a little too cute and almost get your quarterback hurt or a big turnover early in the game, right?
Yeah, I didn't quite understand that either. I mean, the last thing you want to do is get your quarterback hurt doing
Mm,
some crazy little thing out there instead of his normal thing.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, you've already got nervousness, and that showed in the first pass. So
yeah,
don't try some more stupid things.
yeah. And he had to like jump for it and one hand the reverse pass just to get to it. So
Right.
yeah, kind of crazy. But they do take a 13-7 lead, a 38-yard touchdown pass to Tyler Morris where he tight ropes the sideline, stretches out for a touchdown. That was a great play. But,
Yeah.
but then they missed the extra point, so just a 13-7 lead. Um,
And you knew that was going to matter.
yeah, and kicking for Michigan plays a role in this and could have come back to bite them a little bit.
Yes.
And the opposite side, Will Reichert for Alabama, very reliable, 50-yard field goal, and he hits a 52-yarder later in the game. He's got quite a leg on him.
Yes. He's pretty good. Yes. No question.
Yeah. So Michigan up 13-10 at halftime. And then this is where, the second half where it feels like Bama's trying to pull away. They go up 17-13 early in the second half. Um, Even after a Jalen Milroe fumble at midfield, which at times, in my opinion, I don't know if you saw this, but it looked like to me Jalen Milroe was trying to do too much, trying to be Superman instead of just giving what the defense gives him, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I think sometimes things can get into your head and you do think you're Superman,
Yeah,
and you do some things that, you look back on, you say, well, that wasn't very smart.
yeah,
Um, I mean, I don't really mind that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, things happen, and sometimes you just make mistakes. That's all. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think that he might have thought that it was his time. Second half, I got to get it going.
Yeah, and maybe it's in his head a little bit that he has to carry the team. And you think back to that great play he made against Auburn. Maybe that was in his head a little bit.
Yeah, he actually carried the team the whole year.
Yeah.
If you think about it, I mean, time after time, he was the guy that made the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that Alabama's been like that the last few years. They've had awesome quarterbacks
Yeah.
and dominant and very good quarterbacks who actually uh, took the team where it went.
Mm-hmm.
Without
I,
that quarterback, Alabama wouldn't have been as good as they were.
I believe it isn't he coming back? Isn't Jalen Milroe coming back for another year?
I believe he is, yes.
I think that's smart.
Yes.
And gives him another opportunity to maybe try to win a national championship and continue to develop his game. And he developed so much in this 1 year. If he can continue to develop, who knows how good he can be?
Oh, I agree. Yeah, his I don't know. I think he's got a great future ahead of him if he just, continues to improve.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I believe he tries to do too much, and that's when he fumbles at midfield. So Michigan takes over down 13-7 or down 17-13, and Michigan tries for a 49-yard field goal and misses that. And at that
Yes.
moment, I felt like here's Michigan choking, right? He got a missed extra point, now a missed field goal, and that was a huge field goal to cut it to a 1 point game. And to miss that, you just kind of puts you behind the ball, behind the eight ball, and momentum right on Alabama's side, right?
Yes, and it concerns you then for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Can you rely on this guy? I mean, if there's going to be a doubt in your mind on whether you're going to try to field goal or punt.
Mm-hmm. And then opposite that, Will Reichert hits the 52-yarder, and Alabama's up 20-13 with less than 5 minutes to go in the game.
Yeah.
So a lot of pressure on Michigan at this moment. But credit to J.J. McCarthy, credit to Roman Wilson with two huge clutch catches to tie
Yeah.
the game. One of the passes where the ball gets tipped, and Roman Wilson did a great job of jumping up in the air to catch it, because if it was tipped a little bit higher or deflects off his hands, that could have been an interception.
Yeah, the old saying, game of inches.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're not necessarily talking about that,
Yeah.
but that is part of it. That's inches away from being a negative play.
Yeah.
So yeah, game of inches is right on.
Yeah, great play by Roman Wilson, and then he catches a great. Another thing for Michigan is Jim Harbaugh with some excellent play calling down the stretch, especially in the second half, to scheme guys open. And he had one play to Blake Corum that was just wide open, and this one on the touchdown, Roman Wilson wide open for a 4-yard catch. Huge play, and then he hits the extra point to tie the game at 20. That was a huge moment in the game.
Absolutely. Yes.
And then Michigan's defense, who played pretty well in this game, holding Bama to 20 points, they force a punt, and it looks like they're going to get an opportunity, if they get a decent return to go down and maybe kick the game winning field goal. And the returner, Jake Thaw, fumbles the catch
Yeah.
and is lucky to recover it at the one just as he gets hit hard. I
Yes.
mean, that could have been disastrous.
Yes. Yes.
That was
Yep.
crazy. I mean, how many times have we seen that where the ball bounces weirdly and he can't recover it in time, or it goes into the end zone or out the back of the end zone? Like that could have been Game changing right there.
Yeah, there's something about football and its odd looking ball and what it can do in so many odd times.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't trust it.
Yep.
I mean, it can go most any direction anytime it feels like it.
And I mean, as a fan base, as a team, as a coach, you have to be just holding your breath on that play.
Yes,
And lucky to be able to get out of the end zone. They're at the one, and lucky to be able to get it out enough to even take the kneel and go to overtime.
right.
So then overtime, 20-20, and this is where I would have done a little bit more of this, honestly, in the game is feed Blake Corum. He's the best running back on your team, possibly the best running back in the country. And they give it to him twice in overtime. He goes for 8 yards and then the 17-yard touchdown. And just like that, they have a touchdown lead in overtime.
Yeah, that was quick, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if I was Michigan's offense, there's a lot of talk about J.J. McCarthy and all that, but feed Blake Corum, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah,
He's so
absolutely.
good. Yeah. Um, and then Bama, I expected Bama to go down here and tie the game and go to a second overtime, but they get themselves into a fourth and goal at the 3. And what did you think happened here? It looked like a low snap, and then I don't know if this was the play call or what, but Jalen Milrow gets a snap and then just runs straight into the pile and is stopped for no gain pretty much. And it looked like if he could have bounced left or right, there's lanes to run the ball. Do you think he panicked because of the low snap? I mean, do you think that was the play call? What do you think happened there on fourth down?
God, wouldn't you really want to know for sure? I don't know if the
Yeah,
coach was ever asked that question or not. Um, yeah, I mean, I kind of felt that that was supposed to have been a draw play,
yeah,
and every other time that call has been made, the middle opened up
mm-hmm,
and it was wide open, and I think he expected the same thing,
yeah,
but it just closed. It just never opened up for him.
yeah,
And it's almost like his mind was so stuck on running straight ahead that he didn't even look left or
yeah,
right.
yeah. And maybe the low snap got him thinking too quickly.
Could be, yeah.
And that was an issue for Bama all game and really all season was bad
Yes,
snaps.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
So I
Uh,
mean, in that instance, you'd think that they would be prepared
yeah.
and know that that can happen and know what to do. But
Yeah.
it seemed like an awkward play, and then was very poorly executed.
Yeah, and great defensive play by Michigan. It's almost like they knew it was coming, right? And just stuffed the
Yeah,
middle and he
yeah,
had no shot. But I question the play call. If that was a quarterback draw, I don't like it. Like from the 3 yard line, maybe from the one, but from the three, I don't like it. I would have had a pass play there.
yeah. I'd rather see him have an option.
Yeah. Yeah, like a run pass option.
Yeah,
Yeah. But a great stop by Michigan, and that's the game. They win 27-20. A huge win for Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, and they're heading to the national championship game. That to me, such a huge hurdle, right? They couldn't get past Ohio State, and they couldn't get to the playoffs, but not the national championship. That's a huge step for the Michigan football team right there.
yeah. I think the team after last year's major disappointment,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think Michigan was really focused,
Yeah.
and they had a mission. I really do think they're still on their mission. Um,
Yeah.
the thing with it is, the mission so far is just to get past that game.
Yeah.
because they've not been to the next step.
Yep.
So you wonder if they've got enough left to go past this next step and seal the whole thing.
Yeah. And I think part of it is they've rallied around the coach, right? And all the drama and off the field stuff.
Right. Yes, they
And
did.
yeah, I think that's brought them all together and it has them super focused. And I think this is a different Michigan team, like you said. I think they're different this year. I think they're, one mindset, which is just to win out and don't lose a game this year and do it for Jim Harbaugh. And all signs are pointing to Harbaugh leaving at the end of the year, so they want to do it for him. Um,
Yeah, I think there's a measure of that I'm pretty sure the players are just as aware as everybody else is,
yeah,
that this could be his last year. And I mean, look, he's brought Michigan from obscurity
yep,
to the possible championship.
mm-hmm,
And I mean, it's taken a few years, but I mean, Michigan is now, back where they've been for a very long time.
yeah,
And I think that that's something that the players will want to play for, is to finish it off for him,
yeah,
um, and not worry about whether or not he's going to be there from there on.
yeah. Just next game mindset. We'll worry about this off season when we get there, right?
Yes. Well,
Yeah,
a championship always eases all pains uh,
mm-hmm.
at the time and future.
That's what Michigan fans are saying too. It's like if Jim Harbaugh is going to leave, hey, at least let's get a national championship before he's gone, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That would finish the work for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Jim Harbaugh has been saying since the preseason, since a couple years ago, even, and we've kind of like, I think he's just, trying to hype up his quarterback and trying to, bring attention to Michigan. But he said it again, I believe, after this game that JJ McCarthy is the best quarterback he believes in Michigan history. Um, Another solid game from McCarthy, 221 yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. Do you think JJ McCarthy is this good? Is that good? Or is it the team around him? I think he's got a great team around him, but he's also playing pretty well too.
I don't know if you could say that he's the best ever at
Yeah,
Michigan, because um, without Corum and the receivers
that
and
defense.
the great defense and a good
Yeah,
offensive line, he's nothing.
yeah,
So I think he's a very good quarterback, but I wouldn't put him in the elite class. Um, Even if he wins the whole thing, I,
mm-hmm,
I think that you can consider him one of the best ever,
yeah,
but I wouldn't put him above everybody.
yeah. I think Blake Corum is one of the best ever too at the running back position, and I agree that
Absolutely.
offensive line is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I
And
mean, you put a package together like that, then your guys that are good look like superstars.
yeah,
And I
yep.
think that's really the case.
But that's one thing you can say. I mean, even I remember J.J. McCarthy early on, and I didn't think he was any good. And the one thing that I will say always is that Jim Harbaugh is a great quarterback developer. Whether it's Alex Smith, Andrew Luck, Colin Kaepernick, J.J. McCarthy, it doesn't matter. He seems to always develop and get the best out of these guys.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, a lot of people don't remember he was even the quarterback coach for Rich Gannon when he won MVP.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. He sure has the connection with them. They sure seem to respond to his direction and his input.
yeah, 100%. And yeah, I agree with you on McCarthy because my eye test says that Michael Penix Jr. is the best quarterback in this national championship game, you know?
I agree with you.
Yeah. And let's go to this game, the Sugar Bowl, number 2 Washington against number 3 Texas. I know you're a bit of a Texas fan. Were you rooting for the Longhorns in this one?
To be quite honest with you, yes.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted Texas to win it.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
Looking at it though, I still thought that, man, you just can't count Washington out. You can't tell me that they're not favored,
Yeah, they
and,
are
and they
very
weren't.
talented.
And it's
And
like, you're not paying attention to this team at all, you know?
yeah. Yeah, to go undefeated, to beat Oregon twice, and get this far. They're a very talented team and a very talented quarterback. And um, this game was crazy because it goes back and forth to start this game. Touchdown, one, Washington takes the lead, Texas responds. Washington takes the lead, Texas responds, all the way up to 21-21 at halftime.
Right.
Great back and forth game. And then in the second half is when Texas started to make some mistakes. 2 fumbles in the second half. And next thing you know, they're down 13, 34-21. And right about that time, I was starting to think, uh-oh, like Washington's going to run away with this thing.
Yeah, that's what I felt too.
Yeah. But somehow Texas fights their way back into it. 34-28. Then Washington with a field goal, 37-28, with less than 3 minutes to go. Even at that point, I thought it was over. With less than 3 minutes to go, down 2 scores, usually that's it.
Right.
Um, they kick a field goal to cut it to 6. Then Washington recovers the onside kick. How do you feel about this, though? Dylan Johnson, Washington's running back, gets injured, and that stops the clock and is a huge factor in allowing Texas to have a chance to win this. Do you think is that a good rule that stops the clock with an injury? I mean, because Texas was out of timeouts, but that's it's always been like that, right?
Well, but I've never seen it happen in with this kind of results.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Yeah, it was very, very bizarre the way that all worked out and favored the other team. It was just,
Yeah,
it was bizarre to me too. How
yeah.
that, how that was legitimate.
and,
But I don't know the rules that well either about that sort of thing. So I guess that they knew what they were doing, but I just thought that was very unfair.
It is, but I've seen that. That's always called like that. It just never happens in that spot, like you said. Like,
Yeah,
because you can't have like faking of injuries and stuff like that. And I don't know, the exact rules behind it, but it's like um, it just benefited Texas like crazy. And at
yes,
that point, when Texas gets the ball back, you feel like, man, they have enough time. It almost feels like they have to go win it here, right? It just felt like the script was written at that point.
yeah, it was almost like they were destined
Yeah,
to take the win.
yeah,
Kind of what you expected, wasn't it?
yeah. And then you had like Washington running into the punt returner, which was 15 yards, and then huge that huge throw that gained like 40 yards got him in position, and then another great catch along the sidelines. They get it all the way down to the 13-yard line, and you just feel like it's inevitable that they're gonna do it. And then they in the end they couldn't get it done. But do you think is that on play calling? Do you think I feel like Texas should have been able to draw something up a little bit better to get someone open or somewhat a better shot to get that touchdown catch in the final seconds, right?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what it is, Alex. And we sit on the sidelines and we watch it. We see what they do, and
Mm-hmm.
and right away we're scratching our heads, like, why would you do that?
Yeah,
And it's like they had to have thought about what they were going to do,
yeah.
and they do it, and you go, what the heck? Yeah, and
Even that little, it was a quick throw out to the running back, I think, that went for like 0 yards or two
yeah,
yards and just took a bunch of time off the clock. It's like, what are you doing?
right. Yeah, I
So,
mean, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's just football's like that. I mean, it just seems like there's always some weird thing that goes on. It
yep,
doesn't make any sense. It actually ends up costing you a game.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes it's the pressure of the moment can just get to people, right? And
Yes.
make them do weird stuff, And but credit to Washington, they survive, and go to the national championship game. I mean, can you remember? Is this Washington's first national championship game? It has to be the first time in a long time, right?
Yeah, I forget what the date was. I mean, it's been like forever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I don't recall what it was that they said. Um, and
but long,
they did flash it a couple of times how long it has been, but I don't
yeah,
remember. It was forever.
yeah. So very cool, and again, the last year of the Pac-12, right? So the Pac-12 is going to represent in the national championship game.
Well, if I'm thinking ahead, Alex, these are two Big Ten teams.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, it's interesting that I mean, if Washington wins it, and having this whole thing about the Pac-12, belly up, it's like,
Hmm.
wow. I mean, how
Yeah.
did all this have happened?
Yep. Yeah. And all the talk about USC was supposed to be the favorite, right? And then a team like Washington, it just shows how deep that conference was this year.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
That was a strong conference, and we didn't know it.
Yep. Um, Michael Penix Jr., the eye test says everything. He was great in this game. A lot of deep balls that were just on the money, great accuracy, big time playmaking. Goes for 461 yards combined, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. And former USC running back Lendale White tweeted out that it reminded him of Vince Young's performance after not winning the Heisman, you know?
Yeah,
That chip on the shoulder, like you're not gonna give me the Heisman, fine, I'm gonna go win the national championship and show you guys you were wrong.
yeah, and I don't know if that's really in his mind, but he ought to be thinking that way.
Yeah,
Um, so more power to him if he pulls it off. I mean, that'll make everybody scratch their heads again, huh?
yeah. And it's funny because you've got two teams that feel disrespected coming into this natty that are both undefeated. It's a great storyline. You've got Michigan who feels disrespected with all the sign stealing and the off the field drama surrounding the program and maybe Jim Harbaugh leaving and wanting to finish the job. And then you've got a Washington team with a snubbed, a guy who believes, a quarterback who believes he should have won the Heisman, and then a team that has been underdogs in all the big games this year.
Right.
So, two chips on their shoulders teams, two perfectly undefeated teams battling it out. This should be a great matchup in the national championship game, huh?
Yeah, I think so too, and I do believe it's a toss up.
Yeah.
Um, and we talked about I believe the quarterback edge is with Washington, but
Mm-hmm.
the running game is with Michigan.
Yep.
And the defense I think is with Michigan.
Yes. And the O
So
line is probably with Michigan.
yes,
Now the receivers are with Washington, I think.
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, but here my thought would be, like they did with Alabama, you got to go after the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You can't let him do his thing.
Yep.
So if they pressure the quarterback, I think they can Michigan can force some mistakes.
Yeah. I think it's a matchup of Michigan's the better team. Washington's got the better quarterback.
Yeah, I
And
think that's right.
yeah, and can the quarterback elevate Washington, and just play unbelievably and do one of those like superstar carry the team just with an unbelievable performance? I think that's what it would take to get this win.
Yeah, I think you're right. I agree with you, Alex.
But I don't think, honestly, I don't think it's a huge difference in quarterback, though. I think J.J. McCarthy can still play well, and the numbers might not be that different.
Yeah, I don't mean to come down on Michigan
Mm-hmm.
and McCarthy at all. I mean, he's. I don't think he's at the same level,
Yeah.
but I do think that he's more than capable. So
Yeah.
I mean, if he plays a good game and doesn't make any mistakes, um, they'll be fine.
Yeah. And like I said, I would, it's Blake Corum's last year, right? His last game. Give Blake Corum a ton of touches. Like, just feed
Yes,
Blake Corum. You
yes,
know, get him the national championship game MVP, right?
yeah,
That's what
well,
I would do.
yeah. That's their strength,
Yeah.
and that's what they need to do. Now, Washington knows that, so they may pack it so that he can't do much.
Yeah.
And in that case, the quarterback's got to come through.
Yeah.
So either way, these quarterbacks have to perform.
Yeah. And the biggest thing, both of them, no turnovers,
Right.
and in the playoffs. And so, again, turnovers are huge, and so it's going to come down to that once again. And um, some, kicking game miscues, some punt game miscues. Special teams are going to play a huge role as well. Can both these teams clean up those issues in time for the national championship?
Right. And I'm
So
I'm, I'm sure they'll be both of them will be on top of their game.
yeah,
I believe they will.
and then, I mean, no doubt in my mind, we're going to get a much better game this year than we got last year, right? So should be a lot of fun.
Yep, I agree.
Who I think my pick is Michigan. I think Michigan's going to win this. Do you have a pick, or are you just looking forward to a great game? Do you think any team has the edge in your mind?
Well, this is kind of an odd one for me because obviously I'm a Michigander myself,
Yeah,
and I've grew up listening to the Big Ten
yeah,
and basically the Big Two, and I mean uh, I don't know that anyone was a bigger fan than I was when it come to Michigan.
mm-hmm,
Um, so I mean my heart is with Michigan,
yeah,
but I just got a feeling if they don't get pressure on this quarterback, that Washington is going to do it again.
yeah, yeah.
So,
He's
and
special.
my mind tells me that Washington is going to win this ball game.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, Michigan's up against it again. It's going to be a tough matchup, and I'm rooting for Michigan. I want Jim Harbaugh to get that elusive championship and leave Michigan the right way. And I think they're the better, more complete team. But I agree, like that Michael Penix is special. He's got
Yes, he is.
superstar abilities.
Yeah, I mean, either story at the end is good,
Yeah,
um, and it just depends on your viewpoint of which story you'd like to see end up being on top.
Yep.
And I mean, yeah, I agree. I would rather Michigan win, but I just got a feeling Washington's going to do it again.
Yeah, and they keep getting disrespected, right? They're underdogs every game, and it's like when are people wins Vegas gonna learn, right?
Yes, yes. I don't know if we'll ever learn that though, Alex.
Yeah, yeah.
We get our minds set on something and we're stubborn. But
But it's good.
this whole thing is worked out. Um, it's almost like the college football playoff committee is completely uh, I don't know. I guess you got to say that they have been done the right thing. They accomplished it.
Yeah,
They're vindicated.
yeah,
Mainly because the the top two teams they had was Michigan and Washington,
yeah,
and Florida State was out of it. And
yeah,
then Florida State helped the whole scenario by getting blasted.
yeah,
So the committee looks good.
yeah,
It looks like they did the right thing because the two ball games were very competitive.
yeah. And as of right now, there's only two teams left undefeated, and it's the two teams
Right,
left standing.
right.
Yeah,
So, the committee is probably patting themselves on the back.
yeah. The one thing that I think I agree. I mean, Florida State deserved an opportunity, but were they one of the best four teams talent wise? No, they weren't. But they deserved an opportunity. But Georgia showed exactly, that Florida State, didn't really belong. But my thing, I just feel like Georgia deserved an opportunity in there too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
It sucks for Georgia to go undefeated all this time, lose one game against a very good Bama team, and now they don't get a shot. And they won by what, 60?
Yes. Yeah.
So
But I mean,
obviously,
the thing with is what is was sad about the whole thing is, if this had been a true roster on both sides,
hmm,
this could have really been an interesting game.
yeah, yeah,
But
exactly,
but it wasn't. So I mean, it would have been better if Florida State would have just said, no, we're so mad, we're not even going to play a bowl game,
yeah,
and just stayed undefeated.
yeah,
Then it could still be, you know, have something to boast about.
yeah,
But now they don't.
yeah. But
But
well,
there was some pretty interesting games that I thought though that you know I was interested to see if Liberty would have anything at all against Oregon, and they didn't.
yeah,
And then and I was a little surprised that Penn State didn't give Ole Miss a better game,
hmm,
and then completely amazed that Missouri beat Ohio State.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and Notre Dame blasted Oregon State.
yeah,
I mean, there were some pretty interesting games. Um, even though to most people they had people who weren't there to play,
yeah.
but still a lot of pretty good ball games that I thought was very entertaining and interesting outcomes.
Yeah, still a very, entertaining for sure. Always fun to sit down and watch some good football.
Absolutely, yes.
So, and then, we got one more game to go. This is going to be a great game, a complete toss up, really. And it should be a lot of fun. And we'll see, a great season of college football. And then next year, we get to look forward to some radical new conference realignment and then the 12-team playoff. I mean, next year is going to be absolute chaos, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot more interesting and I think a lot more realistic
Yeah,
in accomplishing what we would really like to see.
yeah.
Um, it's going to be, I think that the SEC gaining Oklahoma and Texas is going to be something to watch. Um, they're not going to have divisions either,
Mm-hmm.
so it's all one big conglomerate of teams. You
And
know,
a cool aspect about this national championship game, like you said, Washington going to the Big Ten next year. Maybe this is the beginning of a new rivalry.
yeah, very possible, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool how stuff like that works out.
Yeah, I mean, the Big Ten is going to have 18 teams,
Yeah,
so I'm not sure how you can call it the Big Ten.
yeah.
I still
Ever since
think,
I was little, I've always
yeah,
been like, how does this make any sense?
yeah, it's like, why don't you just change it to the Coast to Coast Conference?
Yeah. Well, did you see what Chip Kelly was saying about how he believes that in college football only, keep everything else because he said it sucks that, you know, like I forget what he was saying exactly. Like the Pac-12, like some of these great Pac-12 basketball, college basketball rivalries are no more, because of
Yes.
conference realignment. And he said that we should leave the rest of the sports alone. And what we should do with college football is honestly, like Notre Dame, make everyone independent. And then everyone splits the TV money and everyone gets paid equally and then almost make it like a one big league.
Yeah, that's what really is coming down. It's coming down to the money.
Yeah.
These conferences are getting agreements and contracts for TV and all other types of money that's flowing in,
Mhm.
and they want to protect that. I mean, they don't want to share that
Yeah,
with,
exactly.
with someone else. And so that would be a very difficult thing to rein in. And let's say everybody gets something. I just
And
don't think
that's
you're going to get. I don't think you're going to get the conferences to even consider such a thing.
well, unless we can really expand the Big 10, the SEC, the Big 12, like really expand and get these to be a lot bigger and include more and more teams, you know,
Yeah.
one way or another. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of these universities potentially give up on football at some point, right?
Oh, that's possible. Yes.
So
Yes. And but the Pac-12 isn't dissolved.
yeah,
I mean, and I don't know exactly how what whether they'll still try to create in the other sports similar schedules and stuff.
hmm
They probably will. Um, but as far as football, I mean, there's only going to be a true uh, only two real teams that are in that conference uh, remain in that conference, even though they will be playing in the Mountain West.
yeah, and
So,
yeah,
I mean,
hopefully,
I think there's a bit of that kind of thought that you just went through
yeah,
to try to keep some common sense to the whole thing.
yeah, and these other conferences need to work together and do what they have to bring in new schools and move around just to keep competition with the Big Ten and the SEC,
Yeah.
and do what they have to do. I mean, the Pac-12 or whatever you're going to call it going forward with the Mountain West and all that, you can still put together some pretty talented conferences, some good teams.
I think each of the conferences, other than the Pac 12, they have improved a
Yeah,
whole lot.
yeah,
each one of them has actually improved what they've got.
Yeah.
So it may even be better than it was,
Yep.
um, except you're not going to have the Pac-12.
Yeah. So, then that's the thing about, college football and college sports, and we love tradition. And nowadays, more than ever, tradition's going out the window. But the one thing, like Todd Marinovich said, the former USC quarterback, he's like, "What are we gonna do? Stop watching?" He's like, "We're gonna be watching every game anyway." So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if there was one national-wide conference,
yeah,
we'd be watching football regardless.
yep,
It really wouldn't matter.
yep,
It's just that the conference has been so critically part of college football for so long. I mean, um, it's where it all began.
yeah,
And I mean, it's just for them to keep toying with this stuff and make it look like it's not that big a deal
yeah,
is really irritating.
yeah. It's crazy, and the biggest thing in my mind, I hope we are able to keep these rivalry games. These, every year, everyone wants to see the Apple Cup, right? Everyone wants to
Yeah,
see USC, UCLA. And
Oklahoma,
let's
Texas,
bring, yeah. And that's one cool thing is we're going to see Texas A&M, but yeah, Texas, Oklahoma, all that stuff, and hopefully we can bring back Michigan Notre Dame because that's one of the best ones, and that needs to come back soon.
yeah. Well, their affiliation with the ACC makes that very hard to do.
Yeah,
You know, when they weren't, uh, then they did have the Big Ten teams coming in or them going there.
yeah, Michigan
I always
State
like
Notre Dame. I
I
love
always
Michigan
like
State
that
Notre
too. Yeah,
Dame. That was the first college game I ever went to was Michigan State Notre Dame,
yeah, and those
and
were
that was
always good games too.
yeah. So
Yeah,
we'll
I mean,
see.
I can't connect with them playing ACC teams. I
Yeah,
mean,
like Syracuse.
yeah, I know it just doesn't. Even Clemson, it doesn't make sense to
Yeah,
me that that's the case.
yeah. Well, I can, Clemson at least has been good football, so it's been a rivalry just based on playing each other. But like Notre Dame, Wake Forest, am I supposed to get excited about that? Like,
Yeah, even that with Clemson, for that's going to be
yeah,
hard to make a rivalry out of those two guys.
yeah,
They don't play each other enough.
yeah,
They don't really care about each other.
yeah,
You know, it's not
yeah,
like Michigan State and Michigan
yeah, exactly.
in USC.
That natural, that natural hate, right?
Yeah,
That,
exactly.
but
Yeah, I think they'll go out of their way to make old rivalry games still part of their scheduling.
yeah, I hope so.
I think they will. I think there'll be some cooperation there
Yeah,
to make because that's good for both conferences, whatever they are, wherever they're at.
yeah. And I mean, if the name of the game is money, there's going to be a lot of money in those type of games,
Absolutely. Yeah.
ratings and selling out the stadiums and all that. So
Well, it was. I mean, it was hard for people to accept uh, the end of the Longhorn A&M
yeah,
rivalry,
yeah,
and this is going to be renewed.
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was talking to Richmond Webb about that one, and he was excited about that rivalry coming back.
yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of good things happening, even with all this mess.
Yeah,
But
well,
we'll probably get used to it though.
yeah. Well, as long as they're gonna keep college football going, we're gonna be loving it and be following along, and
Absolutely, yes.
you know, great. great game of football and so much fun and another great season coming to an end. But we got a national championship game on Monday, and we'll get you back on, Dean, next week to recap that if you want.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Once that's all done, I mean, I did run my numbers after all of these bowls,
Yeah.
and it shook it up a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
um, but not immensely. Um, Makes sense to me.
Yeah, me too.
And after this final game, it'll be run again, and it'll be very similar, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Um, it'll be interesting to see if Georgia moves up if one of those teams lose.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know if
like
that will
Georgia
happen
at
or not.
three though. Georgia at three, reconfirms my belief.
Yes. Yep.
I
So
mean,
I actually, I honestly, I would, even though I had my favorites in these games, I was really hoping that Bama would win and Texas would win and
mm-hmm.
Florida State would win and
Yeah.
really mess everything up so that
Liberty.
my numbers could sort everything out.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's already sorted out. But
Well, I mean, the
anyway, as you
numbers.
can see, the numbers did fall in line. It did uh, end up showing a true picture of the season.
Yeah.
That's what I love about the numbers.
And it's cool that Washington's number one, Michigan's number two.
And that's something by barely, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very, very tight. That tells you how close those are.
Yeah. So,
So,
and we expect a very close national championship game, hard fought, and we'll see who pulls it out. But we appreciate you coming on as always, Dean, and it's always fun every week. Every opportunity we get to have you on. So appreciate it.
yeah, I really, like I said before, I really enjoy it very much. I appreciate you including me in this. Um,
Hmm.
Again, I'll be into it and watching it and doing everything, regardless of whether I'm part of your thing or not. But
Yeah, and
I do enjoy it.
yeah, hopefully, we can continue to expand and, get some players on and continue to grow. So you help with that every time you come on, and uh, we appreciate your insight and, your analysis of the games and all that. So thanks again. Appreciate everyone that, listened. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Enjoy the national championship game. Going to be a hell of a game. And have a great week, guys. Peace out.